This video is brought to you by Gimiko, an upcoming twin-stick action roguelite where you have to juggle throwing dice at your opponents and evading enemies. The effects of said dice will vary depending on what you have equipped to each side. Due to the nature of the object, you'll have to always be ready for what comes after a throw, since you have no control over what side it lands on. There's a surprising amount of strategy involved, as being careless with your dice can leave you helpless in a swarm of enemies. The presentation is fantastic, and all of the charisma from the developer's fan game Undertale 2 is present here. Click the link in the description to wishlist the game on Steam. It helps the developers a lot. There's even a demo available now for you to try. Thanks to the Gimiko team for sponsoring this video. OMORI's mods have given us multiple chances to see these characters in entirely new situations that give us glimpses into things we haven't seen in the base game, but I've seldom witnessed anything so far quite like Autumn Break. Nowhere in this mod does it attempt to win you over with insane spectacle or anything over the top. It's all small moments connecting the cast in meaningful ways. Mari and Hiro staying behind to watch TV together, Sunny and Aubrey sneaking off alone to check on her pet bunny, Basil timidly staying out of an argument that Kel's having. It's all so perfect and demonstrates the developer's true and fundamental understanding of these characters. There was no bit of dialogue anywhere in this project that took me out of the experience and reminded me that I wasn't playing something official. Things start off relaxed, with Sunny waking up to his big sister over him, and provided you've only played base OMORI up to this point, this will be the first time you ever see her interact with other characters in the real world. Pretty cool. You can poke around Sunny's room if you'd like, and there's some interactables painting the relationship between him and Mari, like the fact that the toys in your room were given to you from her. You leave the house with Mari and end up in the park with Hiro and OMORI's best character, Kel. Aubrey's having some family issues and can't make it at the moment, but Basil might be free, so Kel and Sunny go off to get him. Basil's first appearance in this mod is him shyly peering around the corner of his bedroom door. Very fitting. The gang, save for Aubrey, regroups at Sunny's place and Basil snaps a picture of Hiro and Mari when they aren't looking. Mari makes him delete it, but not before Sunny concedes that it's a cute picture. Nice. Kel's birthday is canonically during the fall, which did not go unnoticed by the creators of Autumn Breaks, so naturally, it's a plot point here. Kel's dad ruminates with Hiro and the others about what present to get him, and they agree that it should be the new Space Boy game. A plan is enacted to distract him at the local video game store. Before that, though, Sunny and Mari play Final Duet in preparation for the upcoming recital, a stark reminder that these carefree days the cast are living through are numbered. It's here that we see perhaps the most interesting change from the base game, and it's our first trip to Headspace. White space is not yet a thing, and Sunny's appearance reflects this, as he retains his real-world visual style in contrast to the fictional versions of his friends. Even the way he wakes up in this world is much more peaceful. We wake up in a treehouse with the playable party members and Mari. She's recounting a story of Humphrey the Whale, which needs no introduction, I'm sure. The characters debate the meaning of the story, with Mari guessing that the takeaway is to not eat out of frustration, reminding us that even if she's a good caretaker and very motherly, she has funny moments of being kind of clueless and not the most insightful. Kel says that Basil invited him and the gang over to play, so you agree to tag along, and appropriately, we find ourselves in an autumn forest. This area is pretty big, with lots of different consumables you can collect to help yourself in battle, which is a good thing because it didn't take me long to realize that Autumn Break is not a cakewalk, especially when you're just starting out. Enemies take away a surprising amount of health with each hit, made worse by the fact that follow-up attacks are not a thing here. Fast forward some battles and we're in front of a pair of Sprout Mole guards who demand that we get tickets before we can get past them, which is not good since Basil happens to be on the other side. It's here that you'll trek across the woods, defeating different Sprout Moles to get each ticket. I like the particularly dark humor going on in that these Sprout Moles are really caught off guard by your party fighting them, with conversations even getting interrupted. Getting all of them and returning to the guards brings us to our first boss battle in this mod, and we're treated to some insanely good music. These aren't unused tracks for vanilla OMORI, by the way. They're original compositions by CoolDry77. There's a link to his channel in the description. Defeating one of the Sprout Moles makes the other go into full vengeful anime mode, complete with a different track that sounds like some sort of Monty Python-infused final boss theme. Seriously. I was fully prepared to lose this battle from this point and started healing myself. Turns out all you need to do to win is just... Yep, Basil shows himself, so we proceed forward, and this is where we not only see the creepiest thing in this mod, but arguably one of the creepiest designs in all of Omori's content, both official and fan-made, because entering Basil's house starts this battle. This fight with the spider plays out like you would expect most cinematic battles in Omori. The run button doesn't work, the calm down ability isn't immediately available to you, but even with the predictability of how this fight would play out, I honestly didn't mind because by God if this isn't one of the most scary renditions of something I've seen so far. This setting serves as a reminder that even prior to the stair incident, things still weren't exactly perfect. At this point in Sunny's life there was already some deep-seated fears, and I think it's awesome for a story in this world to focus more on those instead of the Mari stuff. Speaking of Mari, she wakes us up from your nightmare and gives you a reassuring hug, saying everything's going to be okay. She offers for you to sleep in her bed. Doing so doesn't bring you back to Headspace, but instead brings us one day forward in the real world. It's a rainy day, and it's time to get Kel's birthday present. Finally, Aubrey makes her first real-world appearance. This is easily one of my favorite moments in this story, just a quiet, calm moment between friends, which is much appreciated since it wasn't too long ago that we had an absolutely terrifying boss battle. The gang enters the local video game store, and in a subtle bit of storytelling, the Autumn Break developers allude to this taking place at least 20 years ago because the store clerk doesn't try and guilt you into pre-ordering stuff you don't care about the instant you walk through the door. Basil and Kel get distracted by an arcade machine because they're brainlets, and Aubrey encourages you to look for Kel's present while they're preoccupied. After buying the Space Boy game, Aubrey asks Sunny if he wants to sneak off while they're entertained, and much to the dismay of Sunflower fans everywhere, he agrees. Not only that, but they go back to Aubrey's house to check on her pet bunny. It's already been hinted at throughout this mod that Aubrey's family isn't the most healthy, and it's reflected in the environment. Unlike Sunny's house, things here are unkept, and unlike Kel's house, there's no sense of a strong familial bond. Aubrey's mom is rude and quick to judge. Seeing all of this makes it easier to see why she ultimately ends up as the awesome pink-haired punk that we know later in Omori. Sunny and Aubrey head to the secret hideout place near the park, and Aubrey tries to quell Sunny's fears about the upcoming recital, saying that Mari is only pressuring him so much because she loves him. Something rustles in the trees behind them. It's Kel. He and Basil find them together, and Kel makes a joke about them being on a date because of course he does. The gang heads back to Sunny's to watch him practice for the recital, and afterwards, Mari says that they'll be taking tomorrow off. Heading back to sleep, we ease into Headspace again, this time with access to a new area and foes. I have a decently tough time here because I have not grinded this party at all, and some party members like Kel and Hero are underleveled because they were toast when I won the Sprout boss battle. Before long, we take this raft north and end up in some sort of enemy or boss rush. I take on multiple waves of enemies and even end up fighting the Elder Sprout, who I just barely managed to beat. In this area, we come across Sunny's other deep-seated fear, drowning, which makes for another really creepy something fight, helped by some of the really disturbing flavor text in battle. Sunny wakes up in a panic again, and going back to sleep brings us a day closer towards the only way this mod can logically end. Sunny meets up with his friends in the treehouse, and this is the first time we see this area outside of Headspace. I like some of the smaller details, like the TV not working, a stark contrast to how the one in Headspace plays every show Sunny likes every day of the week. It's a good way of showing the difference between how idealized Headspace is versus the real world. Kel and Aubrey play cards, but Aubrey is terrible at hiding her tells and ends up losing, regardless of Basil's advice for her to conceal her emotions better. Hiro and Mari enter the treehouse and excitedly share that they reserved a spot at Gino's Pizza. While there, the gang ruminates about small things, like whether or not Kel should get a haircut before the recital. This is the last day before the absolute tragedy that fragments this group of friends forever, so the screen time here serves to drive home that pain further by giving us some fleeting but appreciated carefree moments. Also, I'm not sure why, but I like that Hiro downplays Mari's forgetfulness here while they're trying to pay for their food because she misplaced her wallet. Sunny and the rest agree to go on a nighttime stroll to their secret hideout, and while there, we get this disgustingly adorable shot of Aubrey leaning against Sunny while they watch the stars. Heart-melting stuff. Sunny makes a wish while doing this, which you can actually choose, but he pretends he didn't make any because he wants to look cool in front of Aubrey, I guess. Fair enough. The gang falls asleep, and after Sunny wakes up to leave, Aubrey tries to join him, but they're interrupted by Kel because he is so dense that he has no idea he's even interrupting a potential date in the first place. It's all perfectly in character, but damn it, Kel. Mind your own business, Christ. Poor Sunny. At this point, we get to see the mod's first real-world battle, and with 3 party members, no less. You'll fight birds and some stray dogs, even. It's nice seeing a slightly more involved take on the real-world battles, because the normal game usually regulates fights in the real world to cinematic moments. You ultimately arrive at a couch with a clear view of the moon, and in a very humble moment, Aubrey and Kel are actually nice to each other. It's exhausting seeing these characters fight all the time, so seeing them get along, even if only for a moment, was really sweet. The night ends with you going to bed as you'd expect, and we make our final trip to Headspace, where we're treated to some really creepy imagery. You open up the gate near the treehouse, and while Mari follows you, things distort and everything starts feeling off. There's also a foreboding shot of the moon, obviously reflecting the trip Sunny had just made with his friends that night. The recurring theme this time isn't spiders or water, though. It's the recital itself. To Sunny, this is not just an event that he is mildly nervous about, that he has to get out of the way. It is eating at him, and the anxiety of it all makes him question why his sister would want to subject him to all of this in the first place. Regardless of how much his sister cares about him, it is lost on him here. The final something battle in this mod resembles the one from the base game on the stairs, which I was kind of disappointed by, but this mod does so much right that I found it easy to forgive. Sunny wakes up to his sister saying today's the big day, an understatement of the century. Mari and her little brother practice for hours in the piano room, but Sunny's frustration has reached its boiling point. He abruptly stops playing, storms out of the room, and smashes his violin from the top of the stairs. And for the first time, we see Mari absolutely livid. Sunny tries to go down the stairs, but is blocked off, and we enter the most unwanted battle in any RPG. The fight against Mari may take place in the real world, but similar to the Basil battle in OMORI, supernatural elements cloud the screen. The wallpaper in the background runs upward, and a creepy composition of Final Duet plays in the background. Nothing works against her here. She won't even bring your health down to 0. The only way this fight ends is the way OMORI begins. Basil enters not long after everything happens, and as the photo album showed, their attempts to nurture Mari back completely fail, and things end with this terrifying shot of Mari swaying in the backyard, and the iconic something that we've all become too familiar with makes its first appearance. Is this mod going to give you a grand revelation about Omori's lore that the original game didn't? Well, fundamentally it can't, because obviously this is a fan project, so the best thing it can achieve is feeling authentic, feeling like a natural part of this world's canon and lore, and it achieves this with flying colors, making a careful effort not to change any of the world building set before it. And not only do I think that's okay, I think that was the right call. Even if we know the beginning, middle, and end of this story, the execution with which it's told was good enough that I was still very entertained regardless. For as much praise as I've levied at this mod throughout this video, I can't say that it was entirely perfect. It's close, but not quite there. There's some needless bloat as far as the gameplay. For the most part, Autumn Break reminded me that OMORI mods can be exciting on the playability front, not just the narrative one, with the Sprout Mole brothers and the multiple consecutive battles towards the end of the game being particular standouts. That being said, tracking down 4 different Sprout Moles across a giant, winding map to get the 4 tickets towards the beginning of the playthrough was not exactly enthralling, and it had me eager to wrap up that particular part just to progress the story. I also think that some of the mystique from the stair incident is removed by showing us the entire thing. It's still a very heart-wrenching scene, but it doesn't carry the same eerie energy that it did in the base game. Vanilla Omori showed us glimpses of this tragedy in very small quantities, and piecing those bits of information together in your head was a lot more terrifying than any in-game cutscene could ever convey. Still, gamifying the incident between Sunny and Mari was a very neat thing to see, and it went a ways in showing us Sunny's perspective. Autumn Break is not about drastically changing and upending the game before it. It's about an easier time, a snapshot in Sunny's life where he didn't hang on to all the emotional baggage he shoulders in Omori. It's about showing us that those flashback panels in a final duet weren't just for show. They were a real, lived-in moment where Mari would cook for her little brother, Aubrey would distract Kel to surprise him for his birthday, and the entire crew would beat up stray dogs. It does an amazing job of building up the relationships between these characters before destroying all of it at the very end. To call this one of the better Omori mods would be disingenuous, because it's not one of the best Omori mods. It is the best Omori mod.